So, welcome to today's event. My name is Emily, and I am in Brooklyn, and I'm the events co-lead with Women Plus in Geospatial. Thank you again for joining us for our International Women's Day event. It's amazing to see such a global audience here today. I'm just going to begin with a brief intro about us, the session flow for today, and then hand it over to Kristen, our Unite Pillar lead and moderator for this event. Um, so we are a global professional network for women and non-binary individuals across almost all of the countries in the world, with over 5,500 members and volunteers from over 10 different countries. Our mission is to provide an inclusive community and environment promoting diversity, gender equality, in the geospatial industry. We do this by having career development opportunities, advocacy, community building, and events, some physical and some virtual events like this. We also have a speakers database on our website, which promotes people looking for speaking opportunities, which helps us increase the diversity of the events and panels we watch and the leadership voices to amplify. We have mentoring opportunities for our members, which has gone through our 7th cohort and has empowered almost 500 individuals to this day. So if you are a member, welcome. If you're not, I hope you get to join by the end of this, which I'll share more information later. So we're gonna celebrate International Women's Day with a roundtable on giving, growing, and leading in geospatial. Our panel consists of Raquel, Ayushi, Karolina, and Paige, 4 amazing geospatial professionals who embody the spirit of giving back to move forward. We'll have a moderated discussion led by Kristen with each individual panelist, and then move on to an open conversation with all of the panelists together for the last 30 minutes or so, where we'll also open up the floor for your questions. So feel free to write them in the chat at any time. And with that being said, I'll hand it over to Kristen to introduce herself, the speakers, and more about what we have in store for you today.
Awesome. Thanks, Emily. My name is Kristen O'Shea, and I'm the Unite Pillar lead for Women Plus in Geospatial. Before we hop into panel introductions, as I facilitate the conversation, feel free to throw different questions in the chat. Emily will help me collate them and pick out ones that maybe we haven't touched on yet to ask our panel in the second half of the paneling session. And yeah, we can hop right in with introductions. So our first speaker is Ayushi Goel. She's a solutions architect at Amazon Web Services who specializes in cloud services and AI. She's an active member of both the aerospace and geospatial technical field communities at Amazon. She studied aerospace engineering at the University of Southampton and was a former director on Orbit, and she is an advocate for women in STEM. And we will have little QR codes for each of the slides, so feel free to follow those and learn more about our speakers. Our next speaker is Karolina Lehotska. She's a customer success manager at EOX IT Services GmbH. She is the GIS Jobs and GIS Growth Guide newsletter founder and a mentor for women in geospatial. And she also leads the web content and data analytics teams as a volunteer for Women Plus in Geospatial. Raquel Perez is a senior marketing manager at Esri and the founder of the Young Professionals Network. She has 14 plus years of experience in community building, marketing, and leadership, and specializes in digital marketing, brand engagement, and customer engagement. And prior to working at Esri, she has 8 years of experience in crime analysis using different geospatial technology. And rounding out our panel from one of our most recent sponsors, Up42, is Paige Quint. She's a senior software engineer at Up42 that focuses on building systems for authentication, account management, and payment infrastructure. And she is a mentor to different junior developers. So our first question for the panel is going to be for Ayoshi around community support. So Ayoshi, you volunteered to help deliver a technical workshop as part of the Gen AI for Geospatial Challenge because you believed in the initiative with no expectation of anything beyond the event. Months later, reconnecting with someone you met there opened a door to panels, community roles, and a larger voice in geospatial AI. Can you share with this group what you did that experience teach you about the value of showing up and contributing?
Yep, of course, Kristen. So let me just explain a little bit quickly. So I'm a solutions architect at Amazon Web Services. So what this job really is, it's about understanding our customers' business needs and then designing and building like scalable, secure solutions using the cloud, some often AI as well, to help them meet these needs. Just for some context. And so the particular story that you're mentioning, it began October last year. So I was co-presenting the Earth Observation with Strands Agents workshop at the Royal Geographical Society in London. And so this workshop was part of the Gen AI for Geospatial Challenge. So that's EMEA launch. And this was a collaboration between Amazon Web Services, Thrive Geo, Women in Geospatial, and Lunate AI. And we were giving out $650,000 in AWS credits to different geospatial startups and innovators across Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. And the challenge was essentially to was designing different kind of innovations within geospatial AI. So the whole idea was to help different startups, other organizations that are building applications like that can, analyze satellite imagery, monitor environmental change, supporting disaster response, unlocking insights from planetary scale data. So we had lots of different really amazing geospatial startups applying for this challenge. But my role wasn't really part of this challenge. It was very technical there. It was just to support this workshop. I think we had over 60 attendees there. So I was just supporting, kind of there to support this workshop, how to use AWS Strands agents. And just for some more context, as this might be interesting for some of you that are listening, Strands agents are basically autonomous AI systems that can orchestrate complex workflows. So you can think of them like AI assistants that can reason, plan, and execute multi-step tasks. And in the geospatial context, especially, that basically means that an agent that can automatically retrieve satellite imagery, run analysis, detect changes over time, and generate insights, all without needing manual intervention. So that was really my role there. It was to help with this workshop that was there in the morning. And even this workshop itself wasn't part of my day job as a solutions architect. At that time, I was mostly working with enterprise greenfield customers across many different industries like healthcare, finance, travel, but geospatial wasn't really the case at the time. And I ended up volunteering for this workshop because I really loved the initiative that it was, part of. I love the Gen AI for Geospatial Challenge. And also before AWS, I actually have a background in aerospace engineering. So I was looking to get more involved in the space and also the geospatial communities as well. So that's why I volunteered. Um, and yeah, so even after that workshop, I ended up staying for the entire event, even after my role was complete, and just, talking, meeting lots of different kinds of people. And one of the people I met during that day was Mariam, and she actually leads strategic partnerships, and I think she's part of the Women in Geospatial board. And it was just really lovely meeting her there. Like we instantly connected, and it was super inspiring to hear about her journey. But that's really where it ended. Like, we had a really lovely chat and, we connected. So we connected on LinkedIn as well. And then kind of things ended there. Like, there wasn't any follow-ups, there wasn't anything expected from me regarding that event afterwards. It was like essentially delivering that workshop successfully for everyone. So I think that was October, and then months went by, nothing happened, just life went on. And then I think it was around the end of the year, I started thinking back and I was like, oh, it was so lovely meeting her. I should, check in again. just reach out to do like a catch-up call when we start the new year. And that's what we ended up doing. It didn't really have any like, I did not have any expectations from the call. It was more like a casual catch-up. And then this is where things got really interesting, is when we met again online. And then she asked me that if I was interested to get more involved with women in geospatial. And I was like, of course, absolutely. And since then, actually, just in the last 2 weeks, there's been a cascade of different opportunities that have come my way through Women in Geospatial. So last week, I was part of two different panels. One was about responsible geospatial AI, and this was an event actually at my alma mater in Southampton. So it's crazy how those connections happen. I went back to my alma mater, and it was also with Ordnance Survey, which is the UK's mapping agency, for those of you who might not know. So that was one of the panels I spoke at. And the other one was Geospatial Next Africa Connect. And this was really cool because this is, a part of the world that I don't necessarily directly get to engage with in my day job. Most of my customers are UK based. So it was really interesting talking about like the most important skills needed in the geospatial industry, especially from the African perspective, which I don't get to hear a lot about, and also understanding like what kind of biases are currently existing in like the data sets within the geospatial industry. So that was super interesting, getting to engage with all of that, like all of that side of the world, through these two different panels. And then of course I'm also here today with this amazing event. So it's been really interesting, and not just within Women in Geospatial, from being at this event and volunteering more with Women in Geospatial different panels. I've also become more of geospatial AI within AWS itself, which is something that I had never planned on, becoming. But because people have seen that I've been to a lot of these events, I've been able to provide a lot of like industry insights and see how we can best support our geospatial customers within AWS. Maybe also get more insights for some of these initiatives that we're launching. And I also have a really cool update to share. So just from last week, the business development manager from Southampton Geospatial reached out to me today. I think he had read like my LinkedIn reflection on that event, and he's interested in exploring future collaboration between AWS and Southampton Geospatial. So quite a nice little like full circle moment. So we have a meeting this Friday to see where we can take things next. And yeah, so I think in terms of what have I learned from this experience, I think this experience isn't in like doesn't come alone to me. There have been many, many times already within my career that I've experienced this, where you volunteer for one thing and it kind of leads to this like domino effect. So it's happened many, many times. And I think that's what I would say. What it's really taught me, along with a lot of these past experiences too, is that the most meaningful opportunities don't really come like from a transactional networking perspective. A lot of times when you're going into something with like genuine curiosity, just asking questions, or you're volunteering for something that you really believe in that initiative, it can lead to some really, really cool opportunities in the future as well. So yeah, I think that's what I would say, Kristen.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, you got some hearts there as you were giving your answers. Super impactful. So we'll be hearing more from Ayushi. Feel free to throw your questions for her in the chat, and we'll be circling back around. Our next speaker is going to be Karolina. She's going to be speaking on content curation. So our question for her is, the GIS Growth Guide started with sharing GIS jobs to help others. You didn't get much immediate feedback, even though your audience was growing. What motivated you to keep going during that quiet phase, and how did that consistency ultimately open doors for you professionally?
So good evening. Thanks for inviting me for this panel discussion. The motivation was seeing that the number of followers on LinkedIn was growing. I didn't get any feedback at that time, like from people saying it's useful, but I could see that I was growing followers every day. And I remember it was back in July 2023, and it was around the 10th of the month. And I was hoping to reach 1,000 followers by the end of the month. And I actually reached 2,000 followers by the end of the month. So I saw like I think people find it useful. And in the first almost year, I was growing by 2,000 followers every month. And then people started reaching out. Penny started reaching out to me like, we've got this open position. Can you please share it in your roundup with the GIS posts and GIS jobs? And yeah, I saw that even though I don't get so much feedback from people, I could see it in numbers. My posts were really seen by people, shared, liked, and my follower number was growing. So that was my motivation.
That's awesome. And you got some claps there. So where did you get the idea to start sharing these jobs? Could you share a little bit more about that story?
Yes. Well, my first degree connections are split half and half in the US and in Europe, because at the beginning of my career, I was working for US-based companies. I was often the only European employee, or it was just 2 or 3 of us here, and the rest was in the US. So originally, my network was mainly in the US. And later on, I started working for European companies. So also my network in Europe started growing. And it was a time when I wasn't looking for a job, but I knew that every day someone in my network was looking for a job, and I was seeing a lot of jobs. And I was seeing a lot of jobs mainly from the US and from Europe. And I started curating them and publishing them once a week. It was always Monday. And at the beginning, it was just maybe 5, 7, 10 jobs. But it slowly started growing. And after 1 year, I know that the number of jobs was too much for one LinkedIn post, because there is a limit of characters. And I started splitting it into 2 posts, one going out on Monday and the other one on Tuesday. And then I found out that there is a newsletter possibility on LinkedIn. So I started the newsletter, and I got 5,000 subscribers in the first day and 10,000 subscribers in the first week. And I continued working on that newsletter, and I'm still publishing it more or less once a week.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of work to curate everything. How would you say being spearheading this new initiative to share these jobs has impacted you professionally?
Uh, it definitely opened many doors that would have been closed otherwise. When I was looking for a job 18 months ago and I announced it on LinkedIn, I immediately received like 7 interview invitations within 2 days without applying anywhere. So companies were reaching out to me. And even though not every position was relevant, it was still nice to have these interviews, because at this moment it's very difficult to land an interview. So yeah, it was much easier for me to find a job. And actually, I wrote a post afterwards about my job search journey, and that I got an offer within 1 month from starting, and that never happened to me before. I was always looking for a job for 3 or 4 months. So this was much faster, and yeah, I know that it's opening my doors. And even since then, I have my current job. I'm not changing it, but I'm having at least one coffee chat per month with other GIS professionals. And it's much easier for me to get these opportunities to talk to people, because I know people are busy and they don't accept everyone. So if I reach out to people, they usually tend to say yes, and we just need to find a spot when we both are available and we talk to each other and learn from each other.
Awesome. Thank you, Karolina. And yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of really great resources. So if anybody else is in that boat where they're looking for jobs or wondering what those tips are, go and follow both Karolina's LinkedIn and check out the GIS Growth Guide. Seems like there's a lot of really good resources there. And we'll move to our next theme, which is community building. And we're going to be talking to Raquel on this one. So our question is, the Esri Young Professionals Network was founded to create space for early career professionals to connect and grow. In the early days, it was very grassroots, from hosting events, showing up at conferences, and slowly building trust. Can you share how you navigated that quiet building phase and what it took to grow the YPN into the global community it is today?
Sure. Thank you, Kristen. I'm really honored to be on this panel today. In the beginning of YPN in 2015, it didn't feel like we were building something global. It felt small, it felt intentional, and a little uncertain at times. YPN started as a belief more than anything else that early career professionals needed a space where they felt seen, supported, and connected. And I even went through this experience, right? And so there wasn't a big launch plan or massive budget behind it. It was grassroots in the truest sense, hosting small meetups, showing up at conferences, consistency. There were moments where attendance was low, where engagement felt slow, where it would have been easy to question if YPN was gaining traction. But what kept me grounded was focusing on the one person in the room that I was speaking to at the time. If one connection was made, if one person felt like they belong, that was success. And this has been my YPN mantra, if you will, for the past 11 years. Trust didn't happen overnight. It was built through showing up again and again, following through, creating spaces that felt authentic and not transactional. I really pride myself on having those authentic conversations, but also the board members of YPN, ambassadors, other folks that support YPN, really listening and engaging with the person that they're speaking to. So people could tell that YPN wasn't about just checking a box. It was about genuinely investing in people and their growth. One of the biggest shifts came when we stopped thinking of YPN as something we were building for people and started building it with them. And so empowering others to host meetups, share their stories, mentor, volunteer, take ownership. And that's when we noticed YPN really started to scale. And it became a community, not just a program. And over time, those small, consistent efforts compounded. The relationships deepened, the stories spread. People brought YPN into their own regions, their own networks, their own versions of what connection and growth could look like. And looking back now, the quiet phase was actually the foundation for everything. It taught me that meaningful community building isn't about speed. It's about intention. It's about trust. It's about staying committed even when the results aren't immediately visible. And so when I look back, that's what it took to grow YPN into what it is today. And I'm proud to say a global network of over 20,000 members worldwide, 10 regional chapters in the US with plans to expand internationally, 250 ambassadors who champion the network, and not a single big moment as I see it, but 1,000 small ones built with care. So it has been an amazing 11 years, challenging, rewarding, inspiring, and it keeps me wanting to do more to provide platforms to uplift emerging professionals.
Wow, that's amazing. And like you said, it's become wildly successful and we're excited about the future. I'm curious if you could speak on after gaining this success, how does your role change when you're building a community and how do you adapt as it grows so big?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it's like thinking about that scalability. And so one way we've done that is creating regional chapters across the US to date. Like I said, I would love to grow that internationally. So we're looking to do that this year, but really being able to empower others to do what we've done. So on a bigger scale. So right now, besides the 10 regional chapters, we're working on a university student enablement kit that I'm really proud of. So the ideal situation is there would be a YPN chapter in every school, at university and college, right? But obviously we can't manage that. I can't manage that. My board can't manage all of that. However, we really want to empower people to be able to do that. So just providing an enablement kit that we provide to those schools, and it's basically checklist. This is how we've done things. These are ideas for formatting your meetup. Here are some networking events, some suggestions, and just kind of saying we're here to support you and help you develop that. But ultimately, it's up to them to take the lead on those. And so that's one big initiative we're working on this year that I'm especially excited about. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. That's awesome to hear about the vision of empowering others. And it's kind of like that paying it forward. Other people will empower their communities to be active within the network.
Yeah. One of my biggest things is I love to uplift young pros. So sharing like whatever presentations, projects that they're working on, giving them the platform, whether that's I'm resharing something that they posted on LinkedIn or we're having lightning talks at one of our conferences and at the YPM program. That's what I love to hear, because those are the most inspiring stories to me. And just hearing what I like to say their GIS journey looks like and where they see themselves going. And so I also wanted to mention one thing, though, that I also have a really great board who each brings very unique specialties and subject matter expertise to Esri YPN, and I couldn't do it without them. And I feel like that was slow to get those like puzzle pieces that were needed to really help elevate YPN to what it is today. And so I'm just very grateful to Caroline, Logan, Rosemary, Marcus, myself, and past people who have served in those positions.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. I know a large amount of our community, Women Geospatial, is young professionals. So definitely throw your questions if you have more for Raquel in the chat. And we will move to our last thematic question around mentorship with Paige, and then we'll kind of open it up to different questions. So Paige, you stepped into mentorship after navigating your early career largely on your own. During the long periods when you couldn't tell if your guidance was actually helping, what kept you committed to mentoring others, and what did it mean when you saw one of your mentees finally succeed?
Yes, thank you very much for having me. When I first grew into a more senior role, I didn't exactly see myself as a mentor myself, so it was kind of a weird beginning. I just saw them as a good friend where you're in school, just not really getting like a subject, and you just try to help them get what you understand, and they help you what you don't understand. So I didn't quite see myself as a mentor in the beginning, and I needed to just grow into it. And it took me quite a long time to really get to that point that I see myself as a mentor to begin with, and just instead of just a friend helping out another friend in a meeting where they don't quite get the question or need some backup. And so really first grasping the idea that I'm supposed to be the mentor of another person, trying to help them guide their way through the professional environment was quite challenging to begin with. And then also keeping track of all of that. And it really took me quite a long time to get into that, groove. And also it made me really conscious of everything the other person is talking about, and also what I'm talking about. Like everything I say, everything I do kind of also affects the other person, and made me really conscious of everything I'm doing. At this point, I also thought more about what is it that I'm actually doing? What is it what I'm actually doing? Is it helping them, or are they just saying they understand it because they don't quite get it, or because they really get it? And so you just have to keep going. I needed to find my own groove, and my own groove was back then that I kind of, instead of trying to teach people, I went into a groove of trying to ask more questions. Instead of just trying to force my ideas upon them, I went the road of just asking a lot of questions, which takes probably a lot longer than the typical way, just bombard them with questions rather than trying to force my way upon them so that they get the same or that they get their own train of thought that I needed to build, and that then grew over time. And it took like a really long time. You don't really know where you're at with someone, and you just have to keep going. And that can take days, weeks, months, or even years in some cases, where you then finally see something pay off. And for some people, it did pay off that I met. For some, it did. It didn't quite, because either we separated in our different career paths, or something else happened. But for one good friend of mine, I still remember to this day, where I was on the subway to work, and they just reached out to me, or they posted publicly on LinkedIn, and yeah, where they posted publicly on LinkedIn, where they got their promotion to senior, and it was really special. Also, really thanking me for my continued support. It was so special. I can't imagine. I don't know what to say about it, but yeah, it was really meaningful, and yeah, it just keeps me going to this day, trying to move more people into that direction, seeing them also grow, seeing them take more responsibility in their own. And only last year we got like 3 new juniors in our team, and it's such a blessing seeing them grow from their first day, their first week, where they just started out having to understand what the company is doing, what our project is doing, to then only a few months later already doing their own tasks, and you kind of try to let them go just with a few guidelines. But yeah, it's really amazing to see people grow into their own personas, and yeah, thank you very much. You're muted, Kristen.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying that I think it's beautiful how you describe mentorship as very similar to Raquel, where you're hitting on so many things that I've felt both as a mentor, that common feeling of are they telling me, like, what are they thinking? Are they really following? And then I've been on the other side where I'm like, I have no clue what you're talking about, but I'm too afraid to say something. So I think you really narrated that well, and the need to ask questions and really step outside of yourself to support your mentees. So I really appreciated that. I was wondering if you could talk a bit about anything you learned about yourself going through this, becoming a mentor and trying to reach your mentee.
Yeah, of course. I mean, as the biggest thing is also how I try to teach, because I was never so I'm a learning by doing person. So I'm not really good at people telling me what to do, or like how to do something. I need to do it myself. Otherwise, I don't really get what they're trying to do. And so that really shaped also my learning style, because if someone just tells me, hey, do this and this, and then you're good, I don't really get that. I maybe do it once under the guidance, and then I completely forget about it. But then once I switch to a more like asking questions and guiding them that way, I would have loved if someone would have done that to me, because that's way more my style, where I just then get those guardrails, and then work along those to get to the answer by myself, instead of just following like procedure, which I would never remember in a million years.
Awesome. Thank you. So please throw your questions in the chat for Paige. We'll move on to our panel questions, but start adding your questions to the chat, so we can make sure that we cover the audience questions also. Yeah, let's mix it up. A question that might be of interest to the group here, and just feel free to raise your hand, one of the panelists, to answer. How do you balance giving your time to community work while still managing your career and personal responsibilities?
I think I can begin. I think you don't really end up balancing it perfectly. I think that's the truth behind it. At least that's been my experience of the other panelists have a different experience, then please do share. But I think what I've learned so far is that sometimes that balance ends up working in like different bursts. So at different times of the year, you might be prioritizing different things. Like last year, for example, I was more focused on like traveling whenever I could. This year, it's more about volunteering, and being at events like this. So that's what I've learned. Like sometimes it's a bit of a phase where you prioritize different things because you can't really do everything perfectly at the same time. In my experience, like having a supportive partner has really helped too. Like, for example, if I have, which has been the case many times in the last couple months, I've had multiple conferences back to back. You know, he'll be the one handling more of the cooking and chores when I'm especially more stressed. So I think that can also help. So it really like, I think there are like periods of ups and downs with my experience at least.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. It's about the season that you're in and how to kind of recognize that and bounce it over time because those seasons change. Awesome. Karolina, what do you have to add?
So I agree with Ayushi. In different times of year, you have to prioritize different things. So I'm not always as active as I would like to be. But when I was looking for my last job, I was trying to find a part-time job, and I succeeded in it. And I'm now working only 30 hours a week because I wanted to focus also on my other activities like curating this newsletter. I'm trying to write more. I have at least 20 ideas for articles, but I don't have time to write them. And I'm also mentoring and volunteering for women in geospatial, and I've got family. So I was like, okay, 40 hours at work is not possible with all my other activities. And this helped me a lot. And I'm really glad that I was able to find such job because I know that it's difficult to land a full-time job and not even part-time job. So I'm really grateful for that.
That's an awesome tip. Raquel?
Yeah, I love this one, this question, because it resonates very much with my life and work and all the things that I love to be involved with, like volunteering, civic engagement, that type of thing. But it's something that I would say I'm constantly working on, and it's definitely not perfect. I think with what has helped me aligning my community work with purpose and where possible, my professional role. So I've really gotten good at merging those two worlds. And so at Esri, again, I'm very fortunate to be able to integrate YPN. I lead GIS day initiatives. So I think it really creates synergy instead of this like separation of like, oh, I can only focus on this or focus on that. But I would agree both with Aisha and Karolina that it's the season. What I like put 3 bullet points when I was answering this, and I said prioritizing what matters most in that season. And sometimes it'll look like asking for help. And then sometimes it's also going to look like giving yourself grace. Like I have to sometimes step back and be like, I just cannot do everything that I would love to do. And I'm very much a yes person, people pleaser. People will ask, hey, do you want to volunteer for this or be on this board or do this? And it's almost an immediate yes. And then I'm like, wait a minute, what is this going to entail? So at the end of the day, it's really you're not able to pour into others if you're running on empty. And there have been times where I felt like I was running on empty big time. And so the balance, like that's what I try to just prioritize what matters most in that season.
Awesome. Thank you. Paige?
Yeah. I can also speak a bit of my experience in that in the past. I am also quite familiar with working very much. I was also in a team where everyone worked and you had all of those seasons, the deadlines were always coming and you just worked a lot and everyone kept pushing each other, which didn't also quite help. And then at some point, something came into my mind because I saw a colleague online at like 9 p.m. still writing code, still pushing code. And we tried to tell each other to get offline first, which doesn't quite help. If you are the person showing each other, hey, you should, or if you're telling each other you should stop working, you should also then try to lead by example. And it's not that easy to do that, but over the last like year I try to do that. It's still very much hard, but that helped me at least a bit trying to be like a good example for other people that if I work overtime, everyone looking up to me will also probably work overtime because they will try to catch up with me or try to support me. And that's never going to be healthy. And so just really being mindful of what everyone else perceives you at really helped me trying to at least slow down a little bit and maybe log off like like an hour earlier too.
I love that. You and Raquel just really focusing on grace for yourself and grace for others. And as a community, everyone's kind of working through these seasons, and we can definitely support each other as we continue volunteering and giving our time because there's a lot of great initiatives. I'm going to hop into the questions in the chat now. The first one is from Valentina. Did you ever have difficult moments when you questioned whether to become a geoanalyst, or we can say involved in the geospatial field? Yeah, Karolina.
So I have never had any difficult moments or never questioned it. Honestly, I fell in love with maps and geography when I was 4 years old, and since then I have loved it. So I knew exactly that I want to end up in this industry.
That's awesome. Anybody else on any contrasting views about the challenges? Okay, we can come back if anybody has some thoughts, or other people in the chat if they want to share their experiences also. So the next question is, how would you encourage other women to become mentors? Unfortunately, many think they have nothing to teach others, which is never true.
Maybe I
Yeah,
can
Ayushi.
jump on that.
Oh, go ahead, Paige.
Yeah, maybe I jump on that. I mean, really trying to mentor, it's not always, sometimes you never have the choice. Sometimes you just also get thrown in the pool, but sometimes you need to also just grab the opportunities best because everyone has a kind of a unique perspective, and just trying to get yourself out there the first time is really, really the hardest. And the more you do it, the easier it gets, at least in my perspective, or at least in my opinion, and then just continue from on there. And yeah, it's really rewarding in the end if it works out.
Awesome. Ayushi?
You're muted.
You are muted.
Thank you. I was just saying that I completely agree with Paige and even her journey as well. It's quite similar. I can relate to that a lot, where a lot of times you're not expecting to be a mentor and then you accidentally end up in that situation. And I think that question is really important. And it's also important to like reframe what mentorship actually looks like. You don't need to be like a senior executive or have decades of experience to be a mentor. Like I'm very much in my early career now. I'm 26. But I think a lot of times really valuable mentors can be ones that are just one step ahead of you because they have just gone through what you did. So they might have the most like immediate value to bring. So I think that could be the case for a lot of people who are listening as well, is to, yeah. So I think mentorship comes in a lot of different phases.
Awesome. Thank you, Karolina.
So I think that everyone has something to share. I know that the imposter syndrome is quite strong in this industry and not just here. I can tell you there will always be people who know more than you, but there will always be people who know less than you. And just as Ayushi said, it's enough if you are just one step ahead, because you understand the problems or the issues of your mentee better than if you are, I don't know, 20 years ahead. And when I first joined the mentorship program at Women in Geospatial, it was 3 years ago, and I also didn't feel like I have so much to share. And I joined the peer-to-peer program. And I think it was really good because I was grouped with two other mid-senior professionals, and we could learn from each other. And it was a very, very good beginning. And this year I became a proper mentor. I've got two mentees. And before that, I talked to my colleague. She used to be a volunteer at the mentorship team in Women in Geospatial. And I asked her like if she thinks that I should become a mentor. And she was like, yes, definitely. You've got a lot to share. And she also told me, we don't need only senior people. On the other hand, we also need juniors or mid-seniors because they can better relate to the more junior people. You know, I've been in the industry since 2012, so it's like 14 years now. I still remember how it was when I was really beginning, but I can also relate to people who have, I don't know, 5 or 7 years of their career behind. But I know that in another 10 or 20 years, I will be too far away from that experience, and I may not be able to relate to the mentees' issues at that time. So really, even if you are a junior, maybe you have 1 or 2 years of experience, you definitely have your own personal experience that no one else has. And there is always someone who can benefit from them. So if you are thinking about it, go for it. The worst that can happen is that you will not be chosen for the next cohort, but you can try it again next year. So really go for it if you are thinking about it. And it will also help you grow. It doesn't work just one way. Mentorship and also also coaching works both ways. So it's not just the mentee learning from you, it's also you learning from them.
Awesome. Thank you, panelists. And what I'm hearing is it can look all different ways and be implemented in different spots. And so whether it's a small step, as Paige was saying, in your career, or Ayoshi, that they don't have to be that much farther than you. Also, a short plug here, we have a mentorship program, Women in Geospatial, as Karolina was saying. And that is a great opportunity to be a mentor in multiple different ways, to a mentee, to a group of people, to each other. So definitely look into that. The next cohort, Marta can give more details about when they're going to be looking for mentors, but I know it's sometime late summer, early fall. Awesome. Just going to keep rolling with the questions. So the next one with Ankita is, I have a career gap of 5 years. Before this, I was teaching in a college as geography professor. I want to switch my career to GIS, and I have a professional GIS certification from Michigan State. Do you have any suggestions on how to progress? Yeah, Karolina.
So I don't know exactly whether this guy was like taking care of some of your relatives, maybe a kid, maybe elderly parents or anything else, or maybe you were working but not in GIS. But in your case, it's very important to have a portfolio to show what you know, because even though things are changing, you can keep up with it if you want. I mean, it's not like you've got a year gap. That would be maybe too much. So really focus on what you know and try to build your portfolio. And it's good if you identify what kind of job you want to do and focus on that, because don't spread yourself too thin. Don't send applications to irrelevant jobs. Really think about what you are good at, what you want to do. Focus on that, build your portfolio around that, and apply for relevant positions. And it may not be easy, but you will find the job eventually.
Awesome.
And
Thanks,
if you want
Kara.
more information, reach out to me. We can talk about it later if you want, just one-on-one discussion.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Raquel?
Yeah, thanks. I think, so we talked to folks in our community with YPN at conferences, and they asked this question. And a lot of times I think it's putting yourself out there, right? So you're doing the right things already by attending things like this, this virtual webcast, right? And learning from others. And so from the YPM perspective, we always talk about networking, right? Having those conversations, going to to those geospatial events, organizations that are hosting events or meetups, just to meet people and talk to them. Karolina, I think you mentioned a good thing of just asking questions to find out what the job entails. So talking to, if there's career folks at specific conferences, that you can ask, hey, I'm really interested in a solution engineer position, for example. Can you tell me what the day in and day out looks like? Or you're going to come from a perspective of, I have really great skills. I love Python. I love this. So what do you see as an HR or career professional that would fit my skills well? And so just having those conversations, I would say, put yourself out there, network, just take the opportunities like you are today. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Ayushi?
So I can add more from the like technical skills perspective, because in quite a few of these different like panels and discussions that I've been a part of now recently, I think more and more the future like geospatial professional is kind of like a hybrid person who has, of course, all of the geospatial skills, but also knowledge about cloud services and how to use AI effectively and responsibly. I think that's just becoming essential in today's market. So these skills are becoming more and more important. And this is also where like AWS comes in, where we are constantly organizing like technical enablement workshops from all of the fundamentals about the cloud. So even I hosted one a couple of weeks ago, which was like complete beginners that are new to the cloud. From that to much more advanced workshops as well. And of course, also quite a few different ones on agentic AI that can be really useful, and they're completely free. So if anyone is interested in these kind of workshops, just feel free to reach out to me and I can share those links. We're also hosting, like, there are always AWS summits in lots of different cities that are free to attend all over the world. Like there's one coming up in London, for example, that I'll be there. And I think we have like 40,000 people that come to these things. They're huge. And we showcase a variety of different, like all of the current like innovations that are happening within the cloud and AI space. So yeah, feel free to reach out if any of that sounds interesting.
Awesome. Thank you guys. So we have time for one sentence answer for our last question, but I'll be grabbing the other questions and getting answers to them to put on our Circle community. So thank you for everyone for engaging. So to each of the panelists, one sentence, what is your advice? What advice do you have for those who want to start giving back or want to have a career centered around giving back or community building? Something that I've noticed today is, I would say from all the panelists I've heard, just get started, take that first step. Karolina.
Yes, exactly. That's what I wanted to say. Just that is the most difficult part, and that then it will get easier. Think about the topic or the topics you can talk about. Think about the kind of content you would like to produce, whether it's blog posts or LinkedIn posts, maybe podcast, video. There are so many options now. So just think about what topics you like to talk about and what kind of content you like to produce, and just start, really. I mean, the first pieces will not be the best, but you cannot progress without starting. So don't worry and really do it if you want to do it.
Awesome. Thank you. Raquel.
Yep. Thanks so much. Great question. I would say start small. We mentioned that, but start with intention or intentionality. So one small step is to reach out to one person. If you're trying to build community, you want to see who's interested, you can offer to help on a project, volunteer at an event. So it starts with one connection, like I said, with YPN. That's kind of how the formula worked, but one conversation and one act of showing up. And so you don't need the permission to start. You just needing that willingness to engage with others and having your passion come through in that.
Awesome. Thank you. Ayushi?
Yeah, I completely agree as well. Usually there's like kind of a domino effect with these kind of things. It usually starts with just one connection. And I think what's been my experience already in the last 10 years, I started doing this when I was 16, just reaching out to people that I think are very interesting or that I want to learn from or that I think might have opportunities. Just an email, a small email or a message on LinkedIn, or if you're attending events like this, reaching out to someone that you're interested to speak about more with, that can often be the first step. Of course, I think quantity can matter sometimes. Not all of these emails that you send out will necessarily lead to a responses, but even if one does, that's usually sometimes enough because as we've seen, even if one leads to something, that can often lead to a lot more opportunities as well. So that's what I would say, like always reach out to people that you're interested in speaking with, and then also don't make sure that that connection doesn't run cold. So keep re-engaging if needed.
Awesome. Thank you. And lastly, Paige.
Yes. And my biggest advice for giving back is like try to be honest to yourself and try to find your own way. Everyone is very much unique. Everyone has their own strengths and everyone has their own strengths and you need to try to play to your strengths and try to just work as best as you can together with other people and also then try to play together with their strengths to find the best middle ground and to work together. And that's always the best way.
Awesome. Thank you to all of our panelists. I'll hand it back to Emily. I know we're just a couple minutes over, so we can wrap up.
Thank you, Raquel, and thank you to all of our panelists. I really loved hearing all of your stories, and I know we have a lot of questions that people asked. I know everyone walked away with something valuable from this, and thanks for staying a little extra. I just wanted to wrap up. If we have a QR code in the corner here, please consider joining our community on Circle. A lot of the things that were talked about today, including resources and just the inclusive network. We do have a lot of channels in Circle where we post a lot of opportunities, as mentioned in the intro. And also, please contact if you want to learn more about sponsoring us to help us scale up our social impact we're creating in the geospatial ecosystem. Thank you to all of our sponsors, most recently Up42 as well, for making all this possible, as well as all of our volunteers. And Circle Community is free to join. So we hope to see you there and at future events. And that is it. Thank you again for coming. So sorry for the technical difficulties with my camera. That happened last minute. I was having such a good hair day too. But anyway, we thank you so much for coming and joining us and hope to see you next time.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.